Hello everybody, welcome back to Let's Play Great Ace Attorney 2 Renosuke's Resolve. In our last episode, we proved that Tobias Gregson went aboard the Grouse, the ship that Judge Jigoku was on, and he was tasked to assassinate him, along with Kazuma. Let me make one thing perfectly clear. I've killed no one. Explain. I accepted the assassination mission, yes, and I accompanied Gregson to Dunkirk, but I never had any intention of carrying out the plan. You were never gonna do it. We can believe Kazuma-sama, I'm sure. After all, Judge Jigoku arrived safely in London the following day. On the 31st, I boarded a train from London with Inspector Gregson. We traveled to Dover, from which we crossed the channel to Dunkirk. Then we boarded the SS Grouse and made for the cabin deck, as indicated in the plan. You went to Judge Jigoku's cabin? Exactly. He wasn't there, though. We decided to wait, but you already told us you had no intention of going through with it anyway. I didn't come to Great Britain to take anyone's life. So I left Gregson, and I disembarked the ship. I spent that night at a boarding house on the town, and returned to England the following morning. A boarding house? In Dunkirk? My signature will be in the register book. It would be simple enough to verify. Then what became of Jigoku? Gregson was no assassin, so the mark was spared. I'm sure it's easy enough to imagine what happened after that. I don't know. Gregson returned to England as well, having failed to complete the mission, and met with the Reaper in that room in Fresno Street to report the failure, causing the infuriated mastermind to pull the trigger and end his wretched agent's life. I don't know, that just doesn't seem right. That's the real truth behind Inspector Gregson's murderer.
Objection!
But if you did nothing as you claim, how did the tip of your sword come to be lodged in the inspector's trunk? I don't need to answer that. You're hiding something. The victim was killed by a gunshot. A small fragment of a Japanese blade isn't relevant to the case. I don't think so. And accordingly, I choose to exercise my right to silence on the matter. Be that as it may, the court will sequester the sword as evidence. As you wish, my lord. Great sword karma has been entered into the court record. We must take immediate action now, to verify whether Seishiro Jigoku remains unharmed. What? Remains unharmed? I agree. That should be our first priority. It's recently come to my attention that he hasn't been seen since yesterday. How'd you... When a foreign dignitary invited to Great Britain goes missing for 24 hours, it's only natural that the question of his safety should arise. You don't mean to say, you think Judge Jigoku may have been killed? The Reaper has more than one assassin at his disposal, and he has the power and influence to give orders from the inside of a prison cell. Isn't that right, Lord Van Zieks? If I were truly the Reaper, I'd be able to tell you. Order! Order in the court! Order! We will take an emergency recess for 30 minutes. Now? Guests of the symposium have been told to maintain regular contact with the organizer's office. If the man can't be located within half an hour, we will have to assume the worst. Oh no, not Judge Jigoku. No one would want to kill a harmless Japanese man who'd only just arrived in the country. I wouldn't exactly call him harmless. Except, that is, for the Reaper waiting to finish off a mark that slipped through the net 10 years ago. I'd have to agree. Mr. Naruhodo, for the defense's sake. My lord, I sincerely hope we are successful. If we're unable to confirm Mr. Jigoku's healthy existence in the next 30 minutes, you will face grave difficulties. Court is adjourned for 30 minutes. Kazuma-sama, the Reaper's assassin. I feel as though I'm in a nightmare. I can hardly believe it either. But on the other hand, Kazuma isn't in the habit of making up stories. I have such a terrible sense of foreboding. If something awful has happened to Judge Jigoku, then I feel as though things will only spiral further and further out of control. I felt it from the moment I stepped into the courthouse this morning. That strange sensation that we were careering towards a foregone conclusion. I think you mean careening, but we'll excuse that one. Well, in that worst case, we may have only 30 minutes left. Unfortunately, though, I don't think there's anything we can do but wait now. We're out of options. Oh, we have a lucky charm. They're always after me, Lucky Charms. If for some reason you completely run out of options in the trial today, then just pull this little Hurley's ears as hard as you possibly can. Perhaps now is the time. What shall you do? Pull Hurley's ears or not? Oh! Here goes then. I'm gonna do it. Good luck, Mr. Naruhodo. No looking back. Heave-ho! Hee-hoo! Yow! That scream sounded like Mr. Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes, where are you? Here, my dear fellow. Here! It's the felt doll talking. Pull the ears again, Mr. Naruhodo. As hard as you can. Alright then. I'll pull all my strength into it. Heave! Ow! Please, my dear fellow, you need not pull my ear off. Mr. Sholmes, where are you? Myself and my trusty partner are presently in the first-class cabin area of the SS Grouse. The Grouse? She left over last night after the final pieces of cargo were loaded. We're currently docked at Dunkirk, but due to be underway again in half an hour. You've taken a ship to France? Please, even with my athletic prowess, I would struggle to jump the Straits of Dover. After we left Baker Street last night, we hurried by cab to the station and by train to the port. In order to pass this vessel in time, or board this vessel in time. So you mean you already worked it out? That the steamship was where everything really took place. Mr. Naruhodo, pray, what is my name? Thy name is Sir Dumbass. No, I mean, Herlock Sholmes. Recited to perfection. Well done. You're a genius, Mr. Sholmes. That's the only word for it. Ow, 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 ow. Mr. Shusato, gently with this genius's ear, please. Oh my, I'm ever so sorry. If I may, Sholmes. Ah, there you are, Mikotoba. You may remember that it was in fact I who made the connection to the SS Grouse. At Scotland Yard yesterday, when we examined that notebook and I recalled my steamship ticket. Oh, but of course it was, my dear fellow. And not once did I controvert that fact. I merely had our court-bound companions out of my name. Yes, you did, didn't you? We've just entered a recess. The trial resumes in 30 minutes from now. And if we're unable to present any new leads, then I'm afraid to say... Do not fret, please. It's precisely that purpose that my partner and I have made this journey. I've no doubt we shall have welcome news for you within half an hour. Thank you, Mr. Sholmes. That would be wonderful. Until later, then. Yes, you'll be hearing from us if you're not in touch first. Ow, 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 ow. I shan't be hearing anything if you keep tugging my ear in this mindless fashion. It'd be kind of eerie. Whatever was the idea behind making a receiver operated in that way in the first place, Sholmes? Why, that deuce well I know. It's Iris's invention, not mine. She's a little sadist, isn't she? Whilst I know how much you enjoy being the hero of the hour, Sholmes, we have but half that now, before the grouse puts to sea again. And if we don't conclude our investigations rapidly, we shall find ourselves in Naples before long. There are times, Mikotoba, when you make a surprising amount of sense. So let us begin! Wow. Oh boy. First class cabin number 2. This is the one. He looks like the sailor guy from the first game. Beef Stroganoff. This means I get to put on my Russian accent again. That crewman standing in front of the door is an angry-looking fellow. Why you are loitering here? Who are you? My dear fellow, do you not recognize a world-famous great detective when you see one? Different guy. Your question really ought to be, who are you? Do you not recognize world-traveling great sailor Chicken Stroganoff when you see? No wonder he looks the same. You're probably his brother. Chicken Stroganoff. Hardy, hardy, hard. Great detective? Ah, I don't think so. Why do you have writing on your hand? Or arm? Do you see that, Mikotoba? It would appear that this man is a devoted follower of mine. Is it really? Is that a tattoo? It says Sholmes. I must say, while such adoration is flattering, naturally, it does leave me a little cold. What are you talking about? Leave! Now! How distressing. My loyal devotee knows me only by name and not by appearance. And yet, I already know a great deal about you, sir. You have a brother, I believe. Like yourself. He's a shipman. Currently traveling the world aboard a Russian steamship, in fact. How could you know this? Elementary, my dear Mikotoba. I'm sure it was. Because we met him already. 3 days ago, I was bound for London aboard this ship, you see. We're looking for one of my fellow passengers, a man by the name of Jigoku. There is no one with this name on board. But we know that he purchased a ticket for passage. Ah, you mean Eastern man. He left ship 2 hours ago. Here at Dunkirk, he said something about emergency, I think. Are you sure? So Seishiro's realized we're after him, has he? His cabin is the one behind you. We would like to investigate, please. No! Niet! I have orders not to let even mouse inside. Well, Mikotoba, be a good man and draw the sailor's attention away, would you? Make up some excuse so that he leaves the area. We just said that right in front of him. Doesn't great detectives see that even sailors have ears, both left and right? Curses! The plan is ruined! And you have only yourself to blame, I'm afraid, Sholmes. Forget it. Cabin door's locked. Even if I'm not here, you cannot get inside. I wouldn't say that. Mikotoba, I'm sure you haven't forgotten my special talent, have you? Opening any lock? within a mere 5 seconds? If you'd be so kind as to afford me the requisite time, old friend, in your typically accommodating manner. How could I refuse such a typically unappealing request, my friend? So I need to distract the burly sailor for 5 seconds, do I? Good man, so, the game is afoot! This is incredibly illegal, but we're gonna do it anyway. This would appear to be an alarm bell. All hell would break loose if that thing were to ring. The whole crew would know about it. Set it off. Here goes then. Pardon me in advance. You! What are you doing? If I were at sea, it would have been bad problem. Very bad. What's going on down there? Seaman Stroganoff. Report at once. Hey! Sorry, sir, it's nothing to report. Just stupid trick. Not by me, by world famous... No, as I told you. Now, Sholmes, now! Done. Not even 5 seconds, eh? Wait, don't stand there gaping at my brilliance, Mikitoba. In we go! Wow, this place has certainly seen better days. Good gracious. It would appear that the occupant of this cabin did indeed disembark rather hurriedly. Those clothes on the floor there, they're Seishiro's, without question. Seems we're a little too late. By about 2 hours. Still, whilst we're here, we should investigate thoroughly. There may very well be 2 hours worth of clues to find here. That burly crewman may return at any moment, Sholmes. Which makes this all the more thrilling. Alright, glass of water. How it isn't full at all. Ice, Mikitoba, ice! What opulence is the first class in passengers enjoy? Chilled drinks. Could it be that this steamship is equipped with an electrically refrigerated cold room? Well, it's a luxury line. Excuse me. After all. They have enormous refrigerators for storing all sorts of lavish produce, as well as ice. So they could have hid Tobias Gregson's body. On a voyage from Japan, we enjoyed culinary delights from all over the world. Something, Mikitoba. The sight of you is making my mouth water. He tastes like pork, he doesn't taste like chicken. I haven't taken on the flavor of the food I ate, you know. There's a speaking tube here, look. Though it's been stoppered with some cloth. Someone didn't want anybody to hear something. The voices of the crewmen on the bridge aren't an annoyance, I suppose. Or indeed, so that the voices in this cabin aren't heard elsewhere. Could something have happened in here that was for no one else's ears, do you think? Either that, or it could be to prevent snakes from entering. That's really become a favorite case of yours, hasn't it? The rules of passage. Must not keep weapons or other dangerous objects in their cabins. Pets are also strictly forbidden. Additionally, there are severe punishments for stowing away in wardrobes and or travel cases. Oh, they amended it when we did that. I feel the rules have increased since I last read them. Probably just my imagination. What about the fact that they're not straight on the wall? Does that strike you? You may be right. Probably just your imagination, though. A trifle. And you know what I always say, Mikitoba. There's nothing important about trifles. It's probably just my imagination, but I think that might be slightly off. The waste paper basket, and there's still rubbish inside. Let us pry. I've discovered recently I have a penchant for exploring the contents of others' waste paper baskets. I sincerely hope only for your work. Ah. Here we have a notice issued to passengers from 3 days ago. 3 days ago, the night before we arrived in London then, when I was still aboard myself. Following departure from the port of Dunkirk, all crew members... An evacuation drill. I remember now. For our safety and security, all first-class passengers are under the watchful eye of the crew. So it was a welcome relief to have some privacy for once. That's a substantial heap of clothes on the floor. An overcoat, shirts, a dressing gown, momohiki, or trousers, a tanzen robe, a haramaki waistband. Clearly the clothing of a Japanese man. And clearly Japanese men are unaccustomed to the culture of the wardrobe. It looks to me as if they've been thrown in a heap like that in something of a hurry. Indeed, you could help yourself to a Japanese man's shirt, perhaps? I'm sure you made mention of packing too few. I'd very likely drown in one of Seishiro's shirts. I think I'll just buy extras I need. Alrighty. The wall is slightly different color just here, don't you see? Indeed, what you've observed arises when a frame that has been hanging for some time is removed. Perhaps your friend is an art thief. Now that's a bold deduction worthy of a great detective, I'm sure. He may very well be the elusive thief who has been plaguing France's galleries of late. I think perhaps we should focus our attention elsewhere, Sholmes. Don't you? That outline on the wall. I feel as though I might have spotted something of a similar shape and size elsewhere. That's a very sizable trunk indeed. Seishiro is partial to all things large, and a rather clumsy fellow if you fail to notice he left that behind. Perhaps he left it on purpose. It's lighter than you might think, but still a hindrance to a speedy escape. Pity. It's locked, so we can't look inside. Surely 5 seconds from now the situation will be quite different, though. Sadly not. It has a 7-digit combination mark. And I'm not in a morose enough mood to work through all the combinations at present. There he is. You're still here. Able Seaman Stroganoff. Hello again. I was beginning to think you'd never materialize. Eh? You are waiting for me? Of course. I was expecting you to burst in with a hearty Russian profanity far sooner. I was in trouble with Captain because of trick you played before. Poor innocent chicken. Or is he? It is all your fault. Ship is leaving port soon. Get off, now. Of course. We shall disembark presently, my dear fellow. But first, there's something that must be done. What are you talking about? Why, naturally, the debunking of your deceit and the bearing of your truth. Kukoi! I'm gonna say that's what? I see through your lies. For one thing, Mr. Jigoku has not yet left this vessel at all. Ah! And for another, my dear Seaman Stroganoff, stop saying that, please. You know exactly where the man is, even as we speak, don't you? How can you... Good gracious, Sholmes. You mean you've worked it out? All of it? It's really been too long, hasn't it, old friend? 10 years, no less. So, would you care to join me for a dance of my inimitable logic and reasoning? One last dance. Nothing would please me more. What is this? No Russian sailor's dance for you. We have but minutes until the vessel puts to sea. No games now. Time is of the essence. Mr. Stroganoff, allow me to remind you of your earlier claims. You told us that Jigoku left the ship 2 hours ago. That is what I said. Sadly, that was a rather clumsy lie. You see, there is something in this room that quite clearly contradicts it. What? Ah, yes, of course. I see you've noted it too, Mikitoba. Then please, do take the lead. What in this cabin shows the impossibility of Jigoku having disembarked 2 hours ago? Now that's simple, actually. It's been 10 years since we last did this, Sholmes. Oh yeah, of course it has, quite. Now all the clues are here in this cabin for your eyes to see. As I always say, you must not merely look, but observe. Observe, and the answers become clear. Impress me! I think I can manage that. Oh nice, we get a dance. Perhaps you should have cleared away that glass. How curious that the ice should have melted despite it being abandoned 2 hours ago. It would appear that the man was here in this very cabin until moments before our arrival. With his very well-chilled glass in hand. Get your mind off the refreshments, Sholmes. One might even conclude that somebody informed him of our boarding. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Stroganoff? But why would Seishiro run from us? Before we consider that question, allow me to confirm one small matter. Would I be correct in saying these first-class cabins of the SS Grouse are the same ones in which you and Mr. Jigoku were accommodated on your voyage from Japan? Ah, that's right, they are. I was in the cabin next door, and Seishiro was, yes, 50 days in this very cabin during this very cool voyage, as I suspected. For you see, there are traces in this cabin of a dark secret that Mr. Jigoku tried to hide. What traces? I know nothing about this. This is news to you, is it, Mr. Stroganoff? What exactly are you getting at? As I said, there are traces in this cabin of some nefarious activity. Something that appears out of place, which I'm quite sure won't have escaped your notice. Something out of place in here? That's the key to this, Miss Mikitoba. Alright, this is the Sholmes that we all know. Much smarter. I must say, I didn't foresee ever doing this dance of deduction with you again, Mikitoba. No, quite. But life is full of unexpected twists and turns, as we well know. Now then, let's see if we can uncover the truth here. You've the floor, my dear fellow. Take that! Nice doing that without tap shoes. It's the rules of passage in this frame here. They're obviously out of place. The way they're hanging on the crooked wall here. As if they weren't put there in a hurry. Yes, as I'm sure you've already concluded, that frame was originally over here. The shape and the size are a perfect match. You were right! Why did the frame move? Hardly the most observant of crewmen, are you, Mr. Stroganoff? Ouch. I would think your captain is quite justified in having his reservations about your reliability. Yeah, that's a good way to get a really good black eye or two. Maybe a broken nose as well. That seemed to really touch a nerve. So, Miss Mikitoba, why don't we lift the frame off the wall? There's a bullet hole here. That looks like a bullet hole. What? Who's been shooting walls? I see. The projectile has been removed. Clearly the careful occupant of this room has already disposed of it. Now then, Mr. Stroganoff. I have the distinct impression you're attempting to shield said occupant. I don't know what you're talking about. Why would I try to protect Eastern Stranger? Ah, so we're talking about the same man, I see. Good. Hey! I'm sure we can get to the bottom of this in no time, aren't you? Because there's some very noteworthy evidence that explains the reason you're lying for the man. Yes, you've been told to keep this pretense as clearly shown by... Alright, how to approach this one. Simply keep first principles in mind. Study your subject from every angle. And I'm quite sure that you'll see it. In fact, I put a wager on it. I'm to glare at the fellow from all sides? Oh, I can certainly do that. Well, well, well. Bribery! It's almost too obvious for words. Quite. The universal language of the world. Money. That's what I want. That's what I want. And I'd wager that the Eastern fellow in question is Seishiro Jigoku, yes? Yay! So I presume you realize what this means. There are clear signs that a crime has been committed in this cabin, and the way you're going, sir, you'll find yourself accused of being an accomplice. What? I believe you know, Mr. Stroganoff. You know where Mr. Jigoku is hiding at this precise moment in time. Yep, he's locked himself in the trunk. I think you're onto something there, Sholmes. The chink in this burly fellow's armor. The prey is hiding in the trunk. You could hardly call this barely perceptible, Sholmes. The man's turned his entire head. It's not exactly what you call a furtive glance, is it? It's almost too obvious. You'll let your tapping toes decide, my dear fellow. He's locked himself in his own luggage. You turned immediately to look at this large trunk, didn't you? Aye! The truth is, Seishiro Jigoku was unable to escape from the ship in time, and is, at this very moment, doing his best to stifle his breath inside this trunk. He still has a breath to take. I fear he may be running dangerously low on air. I imagine he didn't count on us making a nuisance of ourselves for quite so long. I think it would be in everyone's best interests for us to open the trunk as quickly as possible. But how can we? Are you forgetting about the combination lock? We don't know the 7-digit code. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Somebody would open it after our departure. Of course. In short, before Jigoku hid himself inside that trunk, he must have told somebody the 7-digit number for the lock. I'm sure you can confirm, Mr. Stroganoff. No, I know nothing about combination code. It's on your arm. Don't move a muscle, my good seaman. Now, Mikitoba, would you do the honors and open the trunk? on if you expect me. It's a 7-digit number. Remember. Quickly now. We have little time. It's not Sholmes. It's upside down. Did it. It's open. You had to meddle, didn't you? Ouch, that looks really uncomfortable. Well, Eugen, you found me now. And we will continue this next time.